Hi everyone, it's Billy Jo from the Peel Field Centers. We're back at our beehives for episode 2. And today we're going to be talking about life cycles of a bee. So bees go through 4 distinct stages in their life cycle. They have an egg stage, a larva stage, a pupa, and then the adult. So today we're going to investigate each of those stages. In phase 1, which is the eggs are about half the size of a single grain of rice, which is about 1.7 millimeters long. The queen lays 1 egg per cell, and she lays it standing on its end. So it's actually incredibly hard to see them without having a full light source like the sun behind you that you're able to see them. If it's a regular sized cell that the queen chooses, she will lay 1 fertilized egg in that cell. That cell and that egg will become a worker bee, one of the females. If she chooses one of the larger cells, those will become the drone cells, and she will lay 1 unfertilized egg in that 3 days after the eggs are laid, they will hatch into the larva stage. In the next pictures, you'll see close-ups that I've taken of the eggs using a macro lens. So stage 2 is the larva stage. And so if you look very, very closely inside of those cap cells right in there, you'll see that there is larvae. So larvae kind of look like white, snowy white, shiny grubs that are kind of curled up inside of there. And so one of the worker bees, the females, their job is actually to look after the larvae. So they can visit a single cell up to 1,300 times a day, feeding them. Over the course of the next 5 days, those larvae will grow 1,500 times their size by shedding their skin five times. The nurse bees have a gland in the top of their head that produces a royal jelly. And that royal jelly, they'll feed them for the first 3 days then they'll wean them off and start to feed them a mixture of nectar and pollen, which is often referred to as bee bread, which is pretty cool. On the last day before they're capped, and this is what female capped brood look like right here by my finger, they'll visit those cells up to 3,000 times a day before they cap them. And up here, you can tell the difference. These ones here are much bigger. Those are the drones. So those are the drone cups, and those will end up being the males. And so you can see that they're much, much, much bigger. If it was a queen, then they make a queen cup for her. And I have a picture of that to show you guys in the next round. So once it's capped, we move into the pupa stage. And the pupa stage, unfortunately, we can't see. But once it's capped, they actually spin a cocoon around themselves. And then they do their metamorphosis into the adult bee, in which they then chew their way out. And then it's up to the worker bees to actually clean those cells out so that they are immaculate for the queen to start relaying those eggs in there again. Picture, we look at the size comparison between the drone and the worker bee. The drone is much larger with a barrel-shaped body and 2 very, very large compound eyes, whereas the worker bee is much smaller with a smaller set of eyes. Here's a picture of what an adult queen bee looks like. They look very similar to worker bees, except their abdomen is extremely long, and they're usually a little bit darker in color as well. In stage 4, the bees come into their adult form by chewing their way out of the tan-colored wax and emerging as a full adult bee. In the next video, we're going to talk about all the different roles that the bees have.